es tu especialidad?
Hi, my name is Tom Lane. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Economics at the University of Nottingham, Ningbo, China. So the red pill, blue pill dilemma is a famous dilemma from the movie The Matrix, where the main character Neo has just discovered that what he's always taken to be the real world is in fact nothing more than a computer simulation in which humanity lives trapped by its machine overlords. And Neo's given the opportunity to take either a blue pill, which will allow him to forget everything he's just learnt, or a red pill, which will give him the true nature of reality. Now, in the film, Neo and another character both choose to take the red pill, but in fact the other character subsequently regrets that decision and betrays humanity in a deal with the machines to help him forget what he's learned. So at first sight, this might seem like a question which is not really of interest to an economist, but in fact, economics does have a long history of studying the ways that people interact with information. But the traditional way that economists viewed information was very simplistic. So they basically assumed that people would choose to pursue information only to the extent that they could profit from it materially. So for instance, you might choose to study a degree and become knowledgeable in order to graduate and get a good job and earn lots of money from that. But you wouldn't study a degree just purely for the pleasure of becoming knowledgeable. Unfortunately, this doesn't really tally with the way that people pursue information in reality. So if you are an obsessive fan of Manchester United, you might spend your entire weekends devouring pointless trivia about the club's history, like who was the first player to score 30 goals in a season, what was the biggest ever margin of victory, and so on, even though there doesn't really seem to be any obvious way that you could make money out of this information. Experiments by economists also confirm that people are indeed willing to pay money to acquire apparently pointless information. For instance, there was one experiment where participants were entered into a lottery with the chance to earn money, and they were told that they would find out the outcome of the lottery at the end of the experiment. Then, just a few minutes before the end of the experiment, they were offered the chance to give up some of their earnings from the experiment in order to find out whether they'd won the lottery or not. And this was an offer that many people were willing to accept, even though it didn't help them to win the lottery. Such findings have led scholars to conclude that people may seek out information simply because it directly makes them happy. And in contrast, there's evidence that people avoid information in order to avoid it directly making them unhappy. One striking example relates to the hereditary Huntington disease. This is a disease which causes early death and there's no cure for it, but there does exist a test which can, with perfect accuracy, tell you whether you have the disease. Now, there would obviously be clear practical advantages in terms of your life planning in knowing whether you have this disease, but it turns out that most people who are at genetic risk of the disease prefer not to take that test. Meanwhile, financial investors are known to behave like ostriches, meaning that they bury their head in the sand and avoid looking at their stock returns at times when the market is doing badly. There are, however, further cases where people seek out information which seems both pointless and likely to make them unhappy. In one experiment, participants were asked to sit at a table which had a number of pens on it, and they were told that some of the pens would cause them an electric shock, while others wouldn't. They were told not to touch the pens, and they had no practical reason to touch the pens, and presumably it wouldn't make them happy to receive an electric shock. But a large number of the participants chose to touch the pens, apparently just to satisfy their curiosity to see which ones would cause the shocks. Why then do people choose to acquire this information which can make them neither happy nor rich? We don't yet know the answer for sure, and we hope that future research will help to solve this question. But we do know evidence from other contexts that sometimes pursuing happiness is not people's main priority. Research has shown that people are willing to sacrifice expected happiness in exchange for instance, improvements to their health or their personal freedom. It seems that the truth may be one more commodity that we intrinsically value, even if it might sometimes make us unhappy. It turns out that ignorance may be bliss, but perhaps bliss is not what we're after. That's the end of today's mini class, so thank you for watching and see you next time.